What's going on, guys? Appreciate you tuning in to this episode of the Hammer and Chisel Performance Podcast. This week, I have on Dawson Windham, who is an incredibly strong and jacked powerlifter. He's been a crowd favorite ever since he came onto the scene as a teenager, and he just has a savage, old school, blue collar mentality and work ethic towards training and competing. He's had to overcome a number of injuries. He's very well versed in training. So, this was honestly just a very refreshing conversation for me to have, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. Now, I did want to start with a quick apology due to some technical errors in syncing up our schedules. We were not able to film this out of my normal podcasting studio with a high quality camera and all that, so this was just filmed at the office desk. So if you're watching this on YouTube, apologies. The visual quality is not what it normally is, and if you're listening to this on Spotify, there are a couple moments here and there where the audio on Dawson's end is a little bit iffy, but much like the blue-collar conversation that he and I have, it's not about the bells and whistles, it's about the substance, which this conversation absolutely contains. So apologies for the drop-off a little bit in visual quality, but this is a really good conversation with a phenomenal athlete and just a dog when it comes to training. So guys, enjoy this episode with Dawson Windham. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Hammer and Chisel Performance Podcast. I'm your host, John Heck. As always, just want to give a sincere shout out to the sponsors of the podcast, Troponin Supplements. As always, keeping me decked out in the Troponin Power Tee. And guys, I am dieted down. I'm at the skinniest you're going to see me all year. I promise you, in some coming episodes, you'll see me starting to fill out this jersey a little bit better than I am currently as we go into the game phase. But of course, before every episode of the podcast, taking a dose of my favorite product of theirs, ATP, 300 milligrams of caffeine and a powerful nootropic. Gives me a little surge of energy, focus, mood, a little bit of memory enhancement so I can have a good dialed in conversation with my podcast guests like I have on today. So guys, use code HECK for a discount at the Troponin Supplements website. So anyway, the guy I have on is someone who's been widely requested by a lot of you. He is just a phenom of strength, a power lifter that I have enjoyed watching over the years. I love the way this guy trains. He is strong as hell. He is a freak. So we're going to talk training. We're going to talk mentality. We're going to talk powerlifting. We're going to get into all sorts of stuff. Dawson Windham, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Dawson, are you I usually throw Zyn in for these podcasts. Are you a nicotine connoisseur like myself?
I got one in right now, brother.
I figured you did.
The other day, and it was like meal 3, and it was like a coffee and the Zen. That was the funniest shit I've ever seen. I work this with my pre-work.
Yeah, when I'm deep in a diet, man, I consider my Zyn and double shot of espresso basically a meal staple for me. But anyway, Dawson, man, you've been a guy that I've followed for many years now. I think I became aware of you probably 2016. 2017, somewhere in there, and I just remember seeing this dude who was just clanging and banging weights, just slinging weights around like a savage and just kind of screaming and yelling, and then over the years I keep watching you. I'm like, oh shit, this guy is getting really, really strong. And then next thing I know, you're a legitimate big time power lifter. Was it, am I correct in my timeline? Was it around 2016, the don't touch my fucking bar video and all that stuff?
I won a teen national championship 2017 at the time. I really thought it was a big deal, and that was before that. So it was 2016 to 2017. I did my first meet November 2015, and I totaled 1,400 there, but I definitely started catching more, like, on the social media a lot more around 2016, 2017, although I've been posting since I was like 14 years old, and I just got like 12 likes forever, and I just didn't really give a shit because I just enjoyed talking about training. And here's my little turkey burgers. I think that's like my first Instagram post. You know, I always thought it was cool just to like talk to people who had the same like mind, the same passion.
Yeah, for sure. How old are you now, Dawson?
I am 27. I'm about to be 28 in January, and I feel every year, bro. I feel like I got
Bro, and yeah, you hit 30. Wait till you hit 30. That's when things really start to break down a little bit. But I mean, you do have some mileage on you. I mean, from a training age standpoint, I mean, you've been pushing it pretty hard here for a long time. So you were what? You said 14, 13, 14 when you got started with powerlifting?
with barbells. I was big into natural bodybuilding. I loved Matt Ogus,
Yeah.
Chris Jones. That was when the YouTube fitness scene started taking off, in my opinion, and when it was like the greatest it was. And I learned how to track my macros watching Matt. And natural bodybuilding was like the thing I cared about until I was like 17. But natural bodybuilding, the main proponent for putting on muscle as a natural lifter is to add weight to the bar, progressive overload, right? So that turned to powerlifting pretty quickly. Like everyone's like, oh, it's always different. And like all these grown men at my gym would tell me. I was at Extreme Fitness in Florence, and it was kind of a hardcore gym for my first gym. But it's like the whole powerlifting hypertrophy, we're so separate in these two different worlds. But to me, as a simple-minded guy, I look at someone like you who's an absolute behemoth. I'm like, wow, that guy's strong. He's absolutely massive. Like they always went hand in hand. Like Franco Columbo deadlifting 765, Tom Platt squatting 525 for 23 or whatever. I watched bodybuilding like that too. I was a big fan of all that. And that's where a lot of my training originated until some random, I don't want to call him a random, his name was Patrick Shroop, but to me, he was a random guy at the time. He saw me in the gym. I was deadlifting 525. He's like, how old are you? And I was like, I'm 17. He's like, you should compete. And I was like, really? You think I could do it? Like, because I had like, you go compete. Everyone there is taking it 100% serious. They've been dedicated for years and years and years, and they don't ever miss a meal. And like when I was a kid, I didn't realize how much you could kind of get away with not doing, if that makes sense. Because I thought everyone did. So I had to do everything. I had to do it all right, all the time. Being like, I remember being a kid, and like my mom taking me through like a Wendy's or something. I was trying to get a grilled chicken sandwich, and they put mayonnaise on it. Dude, I'd be crashing out at 15 years old over it.
Yeah. No, it's you make some good points. I mean, like when you're a natural bodybuilder, I mean, when you're a enhanced bodybuilder, I mean, the guys at the top, it's genetic response to drugs and diet. And I mean, you see some of those dudes just train so soft, volume, low intensity, the Phil Heaths of the world. And you see other guys, slinging some weight and getting strong. But the guys who really are forced to put on muscle without the drugs, without the just the genetic gifts, it comes down to how much weight can you add to that barbell or that hack squat or that leg press over the course of years, right? So and the other point you made, just talking about YouTube in that era, I've recently had on Brian Ulsrue, Alan Thrall, Zach Evan Nash, some of those kind of OGs from that golden era of fitness industry YouTube. And it was so much better back then, man. And you and I were just talking about it off air. Like you get into the 2014, 15, 16 on, and we had the Pete Rubishes, the Dan Greens, the Eric Lillybridges and Stan Efferdings of the powerlifting world. And that's the stuff that I not grew up on. I was I was a teenager, but that's the stuff I fell in love with when I got drawn into powerlifting. And I know it was similar for you, right?
Yeah, that's what made it cool. And like back then, there wasn't like 17 camera shots of someone getting in their car and backing out their driveway, or there was no 17 ads before the video. It's like it just started out and Pete's just deadlifting, throwing it at the ground, swearing at himself, dude, and no clips really involved. I thought it was glorious, and it did. I think it made it cool for a lot of people. I think that era of powerlifting was. That's when like the convicts and the criminals were like around doing it, and it wasn't these fucking anime kids, dude.
Yeah, no kidding. It was grown men, savages. I mean, I look back on this old YouTube video. I'm sure you've seen it. The Mark Bell backyard meet of the century. And it's like George Lehman, Pete Rubish, all the Lily Bridges, Derek Kendall. I don't know if you remember that guy. Just savage, just big, tatted up dudes. And
I think he the one. It was either him or Derek Poundstone, but one of them hit like a 900-pound front squat.
That Derek Kendall, he did a 400-kilo front squat for 881. He might have done it for a double, but he was, some of those guys just kind of like fell off the map and disappeared. Like Derek Kendall disappeared.
George Lehman's somewhere like off in Thailand doing God knows
Yeah,
what.
he's doing real.
Yeah, exactly. But to your
People move the floor.
yeah, to your point though, I mean, those were just savage powerlifters who made the sport for guys like us cool. And now it's kind of the pretty boy morning routine, Instagram reels, guys like that. Do you looking at powerlifting now? I mean, we talked about this off the air as well. Guys are stronger. I mean, the needle is getting pushed further and further. You got the Jesus Oliveres, guys like that, Colton, and I mean, you got Kyle Curvey, some freaks out there. But as a whole, do you think the sport, the landscape of powerlifting has taken a step back in your view?
So all the federations splitting to me, I feel like is very confusing because I don't even know. I competed WRPF the last meet I did, which was Ghost. I think it's PLU now. Like I'm a professional powerlifter. I coach 40 people. My whole job and existence is teaching people how to lift weights, get them to their meet, get them strong at their meet. And I'm confused about what federation is what. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So from like outsider, like I'm trying to explain this to my mom who's never lifted weights, or this person on the street who asked me what federation should I do. Like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. I don't, because it's like just kind of, to me, a total is a total at this point, since there's so many feds and everything's been split up, and that there's going to be different. I've been into so long, and so have you, where it used to be like USAPL, USPA were the only thing. Then USPA exploded. USAPL exploded, it turned to powerlifting, all that shit show. Like I feel like the sport of powerlifting, it's got the most traffic it's ever gotten. You have more people passionate about it than ever. The competitions, like people love following these athletes. Like back in the day, like those videos, if you go watch them, we were talking about 10 years ago, they get like, I thought like everyone watched them. They got like 10, 15K views or something, dude. It wasn't like now it's reaching millions and millions. Like I think Jesus' squat deserved to be on ESPN. I don't know if it was. I know Julius Maddox's bench was almost on there before they had that misload. Like it's gotten a lot more mainstream. It's just the thing I wish we had. I wish there was just a more specific standard. I don't care. Like I don't think untested needs to be on a stiff bar, but I think like one main untested federation, one main tested federation, and cutting all the other bullshit would be great for unifying the sport. I think that's the direction we should aim to head in. I feel like a lot of people feel that way.
100%. And powerlifting was kind of my first love. That it was the first strength sport I competed in before I transitioned to strongman. Now, I'm not going to claim to be some, ambassador of the sport of powerlifting, but I am an avid fan of the sport. And as an outsider looking in, to your point, it's just so like confusing. It's annoying. You see all these federations and let's be honest, they all do have different standards. I mean, you look at certain federations, you see squats that are clearly high that are getting white lighted. You got your 2-hour weigh-ins, you got your 24-hour weigh-ins, you got your monolift, no walkout, you got your power rack, or you got your ER rack with the walkout, you got deadlift bar, you got stiff bar. It's just it's so exactly. It's like how can we take exactly? It's like how can we take the simplest sport ever, squat, bench, and deadlift for a single? How can we take the simplest sport ever and make it the most like annoyingly complex sport across 100 different federations with 100 different minute rules? And then it's like you see these records getting broken in these like no-name federations, and it raises your eyebrows. It's like, was that a legit lift, or did that guy have a buddy judging as the front judge who passed that clearly high squat? And then it takes away an all-time world record from somebody who smashed that to full, clear standards in the USPA. So as a fan, it almost takes the credibility of some of these big totals, these big lifts away. And I don't want to put the blame necessarily on the lifter. I mean, to me, the blame falls on the judges and the federation for allowing that to happen.
I agree, but disagree, because if I go lift at 365 strong, I'm going to squat to death. I'm not going to be like, hey, they hand out quarter squats, so I'm going to squat high so I can get a higher number on open powerlifting. And open powerlifting would accept it. They're not going to like veto it or any fight it. if the meet director put it in, they're just going to let it slide. So to me, it's like you as a lifter, you have your own personal standard, regardless of what platform or federation you're on. I don't want one of my athletes, could you squat high and get away with it, 365 strong? Yeah, but then the thing is, if it gets posted and it's a world record or something, they're going to tear you apart. Be 1,000 comments, there's going to be 30 likes, and everyone's going to be shitting on you for taking the record from someone who deserved it. So the community kind of backs it up. But in terms of like open powerlifting and there not being like 100% legitimacy to certain records, but it's just, I feel like when that happens, I feel like everyone knows. Like people know.
Yeah.
You know.
No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Like you saw a guy like Andrew House got a lot of backlash for some of his lifts that, you know, maybe the depth or the lockout in the deadlift was iffy, and you saw a lot of backlash for things like that. And I think, I mean, it's a great point you make. Like as a lifter, you should hold yourself to a standard and have integrity as a lifter. And sure, you can go, if you want to go fuck around and lift in some no-name federation where you know a high squat can get past, then that says something about you, and the rest of the community is going to see right through that. So
Though I think that meet Andrew went and did, he won. I forgot what other big meet that was going on at the same time. I think it was Ghost, but Andrew, he won more than John Hack cash wise at the meet. And the thing about Andrew, he does do a lot of backyard meets, and I remember a lot of people were kind of taunting him and like trash to him, and he's like, come do the American Pro where judging is legit. He showed up, he won, he set a world record there, bled from his forehead within a 1,000-pound squat. So, like, I understand what you're saying about the backyard lifts. This third deadlift, that was a debatable topic for sure that day, but the judges gave it to him. But at that point, it's like you're at the highest level meet with the strictest judges, and maybe they're scared of you, and that's why they gave it to you. But like going to, I've been to one meet. It was Charlotte Europa, like 2016. It was like the first time I've ever handled a client at a meet. It might have been SPF or 365. And I remember my guy. He quarter squat all the time in prep. And I said, we got to squat lower. We got to squat lower. I got him to hit depth, like, because I was a USAPL lifter. To me, that's what depth was. I didn't understand depth was different amongst federations. And when we got to the meet, he sunk his opener. He failed his second. And I just watched it. And I was watching all his other competitions. I said, dude, just go quarter squat this shit. He quarter squatted and got white lights. You know, I obviously want that to be a representation of my coaching now. But honestly, like at the time, it's like, this is the game we're all playing. If it's the level, these are the rules for everyone here for the day, you know? I don't stick with it, but like, fuck, man, I don't want my guy placing second, you know?
Yeah, no kidding, man. At the end of the day, you were hired. If you're a coach, you're hired to get him on the podium. You're hired to get him to win or to hit the best total that's going to be passed on the day. So, I mean, again, that's to me why I feel like a lot of that blame falls on the administrators of the sport. It's like, I mean, if any other sport, like, all right, if the ref doesn't throw the flag, the play stands. It's good, and we can't chastise the player. It's, you know, you chastise the ref. But I do respect your point about just having kind of personal integrity and standard as a lifter. And I mean, that's something I like about you. And by the way, I do just want to clarify, I didn't want to come across like I'm speaking down on Andrew. I'm actually a fan of him. I think he manifests that era that we were talking about earlier, the savage grown man powerlifter, and he embodies that to the fullest. I mean, he trained with the Lily Bridges. I was more so using an example of just backlash on social media that pops up in response to what could be publicized as an iffy lift, in which there was a lot of backlash to him for that deadlift.
Guys, thank you for tuning in and supporting the podcast. I just wanted to take a minute to give a shout out over to my guys at Troponin Supplements. So they're the sponsor of the podcast, and in my opinion, they carry the best supplements on the market, and it's not even close. And they're the one company that I've wanted to align myself with. As a nutrition coach working with NFL football players, other professional athletes, strongman competitors, bodybuilders, powerlifters, fitness enthusiasts, endurance athletes, I have to be very particular about any supplement company I endorse. And with Troponin Supplements, frankly, it was a no-brainer. These are the products I've been using myself for the last few years, before I ever became involved with the company. I know the owner personally, Justin Harris. He is one of the brilliant minds in the bodybuilding industry, and we've talked, and all he has wanted to do is just bring some of the elite, top-of-the-line products to the market, and that's what he's done. So these are the products I recommend and endorse to all my athletes, all my clients. I use myself, and I want to pass this along to you guys as well. So I'm going to highlight a couple products here. First and foremost, we've got the ATP. This is a high dose of caffeine paired with a very powerful nootropic. I take this before work. I take this before I podcast. This is going to give you a great boost in mood, in focus, memory enhancement. You're just going to feel like you took the Limitless pill when you use ATP. It's an effervescent tablet. You drop it in your water, it dissolves, tastes great. The next product, Field Rations. This is the premier intra-workout supplement on the market right now. It's a one-stop shop for all your intra-workout needs. It's based in highly branched cyclic dextrin, contains essential amino acids, electrolytes, tastes amazing. I use this within every training session. Then we've got the Suppressor Max. This is awesome for controlling your blood sugar. It's got a high dose of berberine, but then has complementary ingredients that are going to keep the berberine bioavailable and stay in your system longer. This is the best blood sugar product on the market. If you're bulking, if you're eating a ton of food, if you're using a cheat meal, this is a great product for you. And then finally, I love this one. I've always had sleep issues. Hit the Rack. This is one of the best sleep products I've ever tried. I use it about 30 minutes before bed most nights, and this has been the one supplement that has actually helped me fall asleep and stay asleep. And then of course, we got the Troponin T logo bodybuilding jersey and the hat. We've got great apparel on the site. So guys, check out Troponin supplements. You can find the link in the show notes, in the bio, or you can simply just Google Troponin supplements. Use code HECK, capital H-E-C-K, at checkout for a discount. Check them out, guys. These are some of the best products on the market.
But anyway, one thing that just speaking about that kind of mentality, that demeanor as a lifter, that was always something that jumped out to me about you, was just your savage demeanor. And I love that, man. I love that. As a former football strength and conditioning coach, that energy, that grit, that's what gets me going. So where does that come from? Have you always just been that fierce competitor, chip on your shoulder? Where's that come from?
I think I was born with it, dude. I don't know what to tell you. My dad has a very great work ethic. Even my parents lift weights. They smoke cigarettes. They sell cars, and they work really, really fucking hard. My mom was an animal.
Spokes.
My mom is an animal. I get more. My dad is very kind. He's an animal as well, but my mom is cutthroat. It's hard to explain. She sells cars. She's a businesswoman. She's tough as nails. So I get a lot of like my communication, like how confrontational I am. I definitely get that from her. But in terms of like drive and just how, like my grandpa, my dad's father, he died this past year. And I was talking to him probably like a week or two before he died. And he said I was like, have a lot of people come visit you? I haven't been around a whole lot. He lives in Charleston. And he was like, no, this is like my second day off from work. He didn't give a fuck. He's literally going to work till he dies. And that's just kind of in my blood. And it's just how my dad keeps himself occupied and happy and sane. Like if he's like anxious, he wants to go put his energy to use. And I've kind of just like watched that at a young age and applied it to training without even necessarily like meaning to or realizing it. But like, this is gonna sound silly. When I was a soccer player, dude, we had a season where we lost every single fucking game when I was in 8th grade. I went home and practiced by myself after practice almost every day. I was a dancer before that. I liked to break dance. I won the talent show in like 7th or 8th or something. I loved it. And back then I'd put holes in all my shoes and all my pants. Like no matter what I did, as silly as it sounds, I've always wanted to fucking go all in. And my gift has been obsession. My gift from God. Everyone like thinks I'm extremely genetically gifted. I don't want to say I come from a small family, but like my mom and dad are not big people. My older brother is not like a big person. Like I go to like a family reunion and everyone's kind of like, what the fuck, Well, I don't know if you're like that because you come from a family of like absolute freaks as well.
Yeah, I come from a lineage of freaks. I got a lot of professional athletes in the family. We're big people. But what do you weigh right now?
Since I hurt myself, I haven't weighed myself, but I've been eating about the same. I've been trying not to like stress myself out about it, but I'm probably 240 to 250 is the range.
Yeah, I mean, you're a big dude. I mean, you're jacked. And and it's clearly self-made because I've seen you since you were the teenager And I mean, you had a good physique, but you weren't big. And I've just seen you over the years slowly get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the other day, I'm looking at you like, Jesus Christ, this dude is 242, freaking jacked. It looks like a bodybuilder. So I mean, you've just put on it. It seems like kind of steady size, steady gains over the years.
I never did. Like you made a comment to me a long time ago, and I've thought about it a lot, where you talked about my potential in bodybuilding due to my naturally high metabolism, just my shape, my look. You're talking about how if I was gonna like go into a bodybuilding prep, and I was at the end of a prep, like, dude, if I get down to 3,500 calories, I would drop weight like 20 pounds would off me like nothing, and that's not a severe deficit. You made that point, and I just definitely thought about that more, especially after this fucking quad tear, dude. Because this past year it was groin tear, pec tear. 2 weeks after the groin tear, because I didn't want to listen to my body and I didn't want to listen to God trying to tell me to slow down. Then it took me months and months to build back from that, and then the quad tear. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of fucking my body up and seeing, like, I got a hole in my chest. I'm hoping my quad doesn't look deformed and different once it heals. It's kind of going through like the swelling stages right now, so I don't know what it's going to look like when it's done. The quad and the groin were not as heartbreaking. The pec was heartbreaking, having a hole in the chest, because I already had the bucket handle meniscus tear in my left leg. I think I was 21, 22, somewhere around there. So my left leg already looked a little different. Even before the surgery, my left leg looked different. It's just, I've just always kind of been like that. So it's not, but having my pec and just like being a big bencher, starting to train because Arnold Schwarzenegger had a fucking huge chest and that beautiful physique. I was like, dude, if I get a chest like that, I'll get a girlfriend. You know, like like everyone wants to look like that, whether they say it or not. At least in my head, that's how it fucking worked. So just to have a blemish, you don't want to get a supercar and put a fucking dent in it. So like in hindsight, when I'm younger, everyone's like, oh, you should train with tempos. You shouldn't go as hard as often. You shouldn't max out all the time. It's like, yeah, fuck you. You're a pussy.
Yeah.
You don't go hard.
Yep.
And that, and I mean, fucking all these fucking scars, bro. And I'm like, yeah, tempos are great. I love 5 10 seconds. Hell.
Yeah, man, that's the evolution. You get to a point a little later in your career, everything starts to hurt, and suddenly that bodybuilding career starts looking pretty enticing. That machine training, that slow tempo training starts to look pretty fun. I mean, seriously though, like it's kind of an arc that I went through myself. You know, I spent so many years just trying to be the biggest freak that I could be from a strength standpoint, and just strong as possible, strong man. And I had this severe nerve injury in my right leg, which, you know, it's permanent. And I just got to a point where training just hurt. And when everything just hurts, you slowly just start to lose that motivation to go into the gym. And also kind of accepting the fact, and I'm not saying this is you, this is me, I'm accepting the fact that, okay, I'm probably realistically not going to surpass the numbers I did in my prime as a strength athlete. But then I was like, you know what? If I can't be the biggest freak I can be strength-wise, I can be the biggest freak I can be physique-wise. So that's kind of where I started really putting a lot of my efforts. And I'm a nutrition guy. I'm a nutrition coach. So it's something that works well with what I do. It helps me marketing. It helps me stay in tune with all my nutrition athletes. And you're a guy who I absolutely think could be an IFBB pro. And the thing about bodybuilding, it's kind of an old man's game. Like you look at Samson Dauda, he's 40. You look at some of these top guys in the Olympia stage, they're 38, 39 years old. And because you get that muscle maturity, and there's something about that hard, grainy muscle and just developing the size that takes decades to do. So it's something you can do, you know, post powerlifting. So, you know, if you ever get to that, and you can also just take a phase, man, like, hey, you take a year where you get you don't have a bar on your back, you're not pulling from the floor, you're not flat benching. You take a year to do some bodybuilding stuff and kind of refresh your mind, your body, your spirit, add on some size, get shredded, and then, you know, come back to powerlifting. It's always an option, man. But you would be a freak on the bodybuilding stage.
I feel like doing that, and like I watch with how locked in you are with your meals, dude. I'm not that good about mine. I eat probably 4 times a day, but it's not like the times are fairly inconsistent. My protein intake is consistent, but my calories can range. I have a few friends that are very deep in the bodybuilding at my gym, Pump House, and I watch them, and it's like meal 7 by like 5:30 p.m., dude.
Yeah.
I go, dude, if I could get on that and put some size on, I that would benefit me a lot. And if I switched to bodybuilding, that would definitely be a higher focus. But with powerlifting as my goal, dude, I don't like going into the gym like, oh, I got a squat day. I don't have to have 3 meals before. I'm gonna shit my pants. I'm gonna shit myself in public gym. I don't want to do that. I don't like. I want the Greek yogurt and a Zen, bro, and I want to get through this.
Yeah.
I don't.
I hear you, man. And look, you kind of talked about your gift being just that mentality you bring and apply to training. And I think I've got that, but it's channeled towards robotic consistency with diet and all those things that kind of go into the nutrition side of things. Not to say that I don't attack training with intensity and ferocity and love, but I think my gift is more in my ability to just be dialed in consistently year round with the diet. And whereas you've got that God-given draw to just going in and being a savage in the weight room, and I like that. Let me ask you this. Let's talk about the injury real quick. I know this had you mentioned it on Instagram. You didn't post the video or anything like that, but what are you dealing with right now?
So I tore my quad. It was a minor quad tear, very light bruising. Most of it was like green and yellow that I saw. So I don't know if that means that it was a very minor tear. But there was a very small amount of like black and blue bruising that showed up later on, but it was in like a very different area. I didn't walk. I hurt myself Friday afternoon on a 690 double squat. It was the second rep until Monday. And then I kind of had a little bit of a limp, and it's been maybe a week and a half since. I've squatted like 90 pounds since. I did not go to a doctor. I got 0 imaging done. I've been doing peptides and it's been healing. I don't think it was the squat that was the issue. Like but maybe for the day of, I definitely loaded too much. But I think the issue was I did a 772 triple deadlift 7 days before, and I just don't think I was recovered going into the squat. Like maybe my adductor or like the outside of my hip was kind of fried, and I think that's why like the outside of my quad kind of took the shot. But it's all speculation within, you know.
Yeah. When I had my nerve injury, it really happened on a deadlift session, but it was a squat session the week prior that really set the stage for the injury. I was squatting and my hips were off, and I was just totally compensating with poor mechanics on the squat, and it didn't feel right. I grinded through the session, and then I kind of had those weird pins and needles in my leg. And then the next week I attempted a big deadlift, and then I just got hit with a lightning bolt down my leg, and that was it for my right calf. Has never worked since, and severe nerve damage. But how long has it been now since the quad injury? A few weeks?
I think I'm going on 2 weeks. It's probably 16 days now. And my buddy Dan Grigsby, he went through a quad tear, and I talked to him, and apparently mine, well, he said he didn't walk till like the end of the first week. So I was grateful to be able to walk around on Monday. John, I didn't even really care that I fucked myself up. Like I've hurt myself sometimes. I've overcame every single one. I'm like the thoughts you were talking about where my best might be behind me, the numbers that I've hit I might not ever achieve again. They have been in my head, but I'm not a stranger to those thoughts. I had those thoughts when I blew my knee out. I had those thoughts when I tore my pec, when I tore my groin, got through fucking all of them. So I feel like if you go through that and you have that thought process, I feel like that's a very normal thing to do, because my goal was to always be 101%. I want to be the best I have ever fucking been every single day of my life. Realistically, you cannot fucking do that, because if you do this long enough, you're going to get fucked up. You're going to get crippled. You're going to get hurt. Like I couldn't do a bodyweight squat. Hell, I was laying on the couch. I couldn't get my leg off the couch onto the floor without my girlfriend's help. And I remember watching her fucking cry, trying to help me do that, dude. And at that point, that's when I realized I have to kind of change a little bit at the core. This isn't just affecting me. I'm not just fucking myself. Oh, she can't train for a few days because I can't even get out of fucking bed, It was, and just watching how upset she was for the pain I was in. I don't want to say my pain tolerance is super high, because I feel like anyone who says that has a low pain tolerance, but I'm kind of familiar with it. So it wasn't the end of the world, but seeing that's like 3 injuries this year, I need to slow down. God is telling me to slow down. Whether this my best is still ahead of me or not is I have faith it is, but time will tell, you know. But I'm definitely going to take my time building back up more. I say that, but the squat session I did with 90 pounds, I could only squat 90 pounds. So my thought process was immediately, I'm going to do it for like 50 reps. I'm going to be Tom Flat. I'm going to do as many reps. I can use my legs for 90 pounds. I'm going to max out 90 pounds. My quad was sore again for like 2 days after that, dude.
Yeah. Well,
Even more than I want to, like by a lot. So next squat day, I think I'm going to do like sets of 8 with like a 10-second tempo. So the time under tension is high, but it's just not as taxing. Whenever you asked me about my grandma before we started this, but whenever I was helping my grandma, I had this thought process of like, when I'm in the gym and I look at all these fucking old people who've been doing this for a long time, they're always doing very, very high reps. They're always doing that or tempos or some shit. That's just how they move and get things done. You know, so when it came to my grandma and my thought process, and the kind of thought process I had for my leg here was the high reps, the blood flow, the nutrients, all the build up in the leg. That's great. And that will help kind of get the swelling out of my leg was the thought process. And same thing for my thought process with my grandma, and with the situation of squats this past week made me think of her. Because I remember I'd have her, if I had her do 20 sets of 3 on squat, she would not be sore and like crippled and like hunched back and shit the next day, you know? Where if I had to do like, hey, we're going to do 2 sets of 25, which she could do relatively easy since we're not doing like full range of motion squats. It's like a higher box. The next day she would be sore as hell. She wouldn't want to work out for like a few days and feel like it'd be more of a setback than a step forward, you know. So I'm going to try to apply that own principle to my rehab. I'm going to drop my training down to 4 times a week. I'm going to bench twice, squat once, deadlift once, and I'm just going to allocate more time for recovery and just rest, you know.
yep. Well, I think your mentality is great, and I have no doubt that your best is still ahead of you. You're still young. Like with me and my injury, it was a severe nerve. And when it comes to soft tissue, muscular situation like yours, you will recover from that. Whereas mine, it was a nerve, it was spinal, and I was in the midst of football strength and conditioning career. You know, I was getting married and all these different things. So my life circumstances at the time were very different. I was transitioning more out of being a competitor truly to being a coach truly. So, the very different situation for me. And just, I have absolutely no doubt, just seeing what you've overcome in the past, like you said, I mean, you've all the tools from a training standpoint, from a mentality standpoint, and just the resilience of your body. I think you're going to bounce back from this. What are some of do you have some bucket list goals, man? Some big picture goals that you'd like to hit, whether it's a total, a bench, a squat, a deadlift, anything like that in your mind?
People always ask me this, like, what's your end goal? Like, I meet they see me in the gym, they've never seen someone lift so fucking heavy, so they're confused. Like, when will you be happy? You know, it's like, dude, what numbers do you have to like squat so you can be like done? I'm like, dude, if you asked me this like 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been 777 is my best squat. I wouldn't have been fucking close. A 700-pound squat to me would have blown my fucking mind. You know, I don't think I would have gotten here. My goal, I want to be top 10 is my next goal. I don't want to say that's my end goal. That is my next goal. I want to be top 10, 242. I think it would take like 2171 or 2172 or something. That might be put me top 5. I could be a little confused. I think 2100 or 2110 might put me top 10. But I would like to get somewhere in that bracket. Instead of focusing at the top of the staircase, I kind of just want to look at the next step.
Yeah.
Hey, that's PR in my squat, my best squat in a meet, even though I've hit 777 in the gym, it's only 738 in the meet. So if I could just get a 760, 770 on board and then beat my bench by like 5 pounds, 10 pounds, beat my deadlift by 5 to 10 pounds, and just slowly climb that leaderboard, dude, like, and get my body weight higher. I'm skinny for a 242 still. You know, I need to be walking around 260 doing a water cut in like the rest of these big boys. I'm like force feeding myself weighing 245, like full as a tick. So I want to fill out my weight class. Like my goals, like I would like to get married. I would like to be a homeowner, you know. They're not that's basically it. Otherwise, like I don't really care about anything else. Like
I hear you, man. No, I think it's a great quote. It's not about the end goal, it's about the next goal. And I think people who are too focused on that end goal, they get there and then they realize it's not that fulfilling. You get to this quote unquote end goal that you've built up in your mind so much, and then you're standing there on the podium or whatever it is, and it's like, well, shit, now what? Right. And I think for guys like us, a lot of it's about, it's cliche to say, but it's kind of the journey, not the destination. Like, we love training. We just love chasing progress in general. So it's not about this like, oh, once I get here, I'm done. It's, man, I just want to take another step forward, whatever that looks like, whether it's adding 5 pounds to my total, adding 5 pounds in my bench PR, putting on 5 more pounds of muscle mass, or jumping up one notch on the leaderboard. So no, I think it's a good mentality. Do you feel like you've got any kind of rivals or anyone you're specifically gunning for in the sport?
I don't compete with nobody. Like, if I go to
yourself
with you, I'll talk your back. I'll give you my taurine. I competed with Derek, and he beat me at the American Pro. I placed second to him when he broke Jamal's world record. His wife made me a PB&J. I invited him to stay at my Airbnb the night before. I'm not a poor fucking sportsman. If you beat me, I want you to be the best you've ever been. I want you to have the best day. And if I beat you, I want that to be the same situation. I want to shake your hand, hold my head high. I don't anything ever caught up trying to compete with someone else, it like slows me down. If I just like focus on like Colton Engelbridge as an example, if I try to compete with his numbers right now, I'm not gonna make any fucking progress. I can't. I'm not there. He's fucking squatting 1,000 pounds. That's just for reps, probably. That's just not me. So if I try to compete with him, I'm just gonna set myself back, overshoot, probably hurt myself again. Where if I kind of just run my own race, focus on that 2.5, 5 kg PR, and just try to make myself the best version of me that I can possibly be. I feel like that's the best way for me to climb the leaderboard and get to the highest point that I'm able to achieve. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I'm not gonna lie, Dawson. I mean, just talking to you, kind of I'm having a hard time staying in my chair. Like, I just want to run through a fucking brick wall right now. You get me fired up. I just want to go to the gym and train right now. It's an off day for me. I've got to sit in here and podcast, but no, I love the mentality, man. And I am curious just about just some of your training philosophy now that, kind of segueing out of the mentality side of things. And obviously I know you're hurt right now, but just over the last year or so, what are some of the training philosophies maybe you've adopted in recent years? What are some of your overall big picture training philosophies as you apply it to yourself? And then maybe how are some of the ways your training has changed and evolved over the years?
When I was younger, I was a big nerd. I was kind of like all these science and optimal guys. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a study years ago about EMG activation of the upper chest, underhand bench press. And everyone did underhand bench press instead of incline bench because the study said it was superior. I was like one of those kids, and if you tried to tell me something, I read the science and I was smarter than you, even though I couldn't understand the science. So I started out as kind of a gay boy, as you're year one kid, you think you figure it out. You think it's a lot more simple than it really is because you don't understand the nuance for how complex it is. That's kind of where I was. Later on, I kind of got into USAPL style training, SBD all the time. It has to be low bar 3 times a week. You have to sumo twice a week. You have to comp bench 4 times a week. Then I kind of transition. I had Stacy Burr coach me, and then she used a lot of stuff from like Josh Bryant, like Dead Crab. And Stacy, she's like Josh in a way where it's a lot more individual over institution. Like, what is the training method? Does it work? Like, does it work? Yeah. This big guy told me it would fucking work. All right, cool. I'll fucking try it. That was it. Like, it's not like I'm not married to any ideology. I know ATG. I try to give Ben Patrick his flowers because he helped me a lot. If it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have overcame my knee surgery. But I don't even think of it as ATG. I think of it as just like as regression and progression, just a thought process.
Yeah.
Oh, ATG chest fly. Ben Patrick's never done an ATG chest fly. It's not his training business. It's not his company. I just call it that because it's like the easiest way to encapsulate what you're fucking doing with the movement. It's basically whatever works. My training methods and the things I do. I look at Egg Cone. I look at Josh Bryant. I ask Colton questions. I message him. I talk to Derek. Anyone who's ever Dan Grigsby. Andrew Hoss, anyone who's ever done anything that I haven't done, if they squatted 900, 1,000 pounds, ask them what they fucking do. I look for the similarities, the commonalities amongst the greats, because they kind of leave hints. And I try to kind of piece it together and kind of form my own fucking thing. Like, if you look at my program, like, I hate when I talk to people and they're like, oh, well, your program won't work for me. It's powerlifting. It's like, motherfucker, I watch you train. You don't do any hypertrophy work. I do an 8x8 on lat pull down. I did 10 sets of fucking sled. I did 5,000 leg extensions with, like I said, a 50, 40, 30, 20 with like 60 seconds rest. 6x6 on bench press, incline bench, dumbbell presses with 20 rep sets. It's like, it's not all powerlifting. If it's like my train was only powerlifting, then how many powerlifters do you see ripping sets with like 15 on Nordic curl? Or doing ATG split squats with 135. It's not, my training is its own individual thing. I was watching rock climbers and what they do for their finger tendons. I was watching fucking arm wrestlers and what they did for their forearms, for trying to figure out how to rehab my elbow pain. I don't get anything from what people are like, what's your source? What's your one source? Motherfucker, I've had like 13 coaches. Had like 3 mentors. I sit on YouTube and watch I like watching old people train, like the wrestlers. I came to an epiphany the other day. I was watching some dude doing kettlebell swings back in the day. It was a Russian, I think, and he did no reps. He just like threw it over his head like a fucking sandbag, right? Like the strongman event where you're trying to throw the sandbag a mile in the air. And I was like, that makes a lot more sense for carryover to a fucking deadlift than swinging a light kettlebell for 20 reps. You know, it makes a lot more fucking, because you're explosive, you're falling all the way through. It's just like, there's 100% explosive intent from start to finish. It sounds a lot more specific to a deadlift to me. I like looking at basically whatever the fuck has worked that I've done over the years, and I've just like anyone who's like looked like they were credible, I'd fucking try it, you know. And if it worked, it stuck with me, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, like, one thing that I just pick up in all of that I totally agree with and utilize within my own coaching and philosophy is train holistically. Like, leave no stone unturned. Just create the most overall, generally developed human possible from head to toe. Like, you talked about kind of that USAPL, IPF style of super specific, high frequency, squat 3 times a week, bench 4 times a week, all that stuff. And there's some merit to that, but I am a big proponent of like, hey, let's build an overhead press. Let's build a front squat. Let's build single limb strength. Let's build core strength in multiple planes. Like, let's build your GPP and conditioning, like make you the most well-rounded fucking athlete as possible. And then you can apply that base to anything specific you want. You know what I'm saying? It's going to make you durable.
I was talking to Shane Germain, M Training Systems. You know who he is?
Yeah, I was just out there at Strongest Man on Earth with him.
Yeah, he's amazing. I was talking to him one day. He was here for World's Strongest Man in Myrtle Beach, and I was kind of trying to explain my thought process of like compound lift first, accessories or bodybuilding, and then you use them to make you more durable. As an example, a Nordic curl, ATG split squat,
Yeah.
a deep deficit push up. Something, you know what I mean? A lot of upper back work. And he basically said the same exact thing for strongman training. Just, you want to strengthen all your joints. You want to use that as your opportunity to make yourself as durable as possible for a long-term career. I was watching gymnast training, actually, for arm training. Because I was curious about why their arms are so fucking big. And a lot of it is locked arm training. Like when they're doing their iron crosses, there's a lot of stress on the bicep tendon. I was listening to this gymnast guy talk about how they approach their training. And it's basically the same exact thing as well. Like they would do their ring routines, and they'd do like their dips, their pull-ups, whatever. And then at the end, they're doing all the straight arm front raise with your elbows locked underhand to strengthen tendon even further. They're using the accessories as a way to strengthen their joints, their soft tendon, and to complement their main activity. So from regardless of the sport, that seems to be the commonality amongst like very, very high level athletes from what I've been able to gather. You know?
Yeah, watching your training, at least recently in the last year or so, you know, some of the things I've just noticed, a lot of full range of motion stuff, a lot of super high volume stuff, a variety of different exercises and different approaches and GPPs type work. And then also some of the super slow tempo work that I've noticed you incorporate, some of like the 10-second nasty 10-second eccentrics. And have you found value? I'm assuming the answer is yes. Have you found some value in those super slow eccentrics?
I got those from Ed Cohn, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Ed Cohn, and the value I found was because I was after my groin tear. Well, no, actually, I did 5-second tempos for a long time after my groin tear, and then I pushed high bar for months on end. I was getting up to 700 pounds, 706, 685 for a double was my best doubles. I think 672 for 3. I was pushing high bar for weeks on end. And then in like my hip, I had something go on with my hip. It wasn't my groin. I think it was like a mild, like it wasn't necessarily a strain, but my hip flexor was hurting a little bit. So I dropped back to the 10-second tempos. And the beauty of those, I did 505 for 3. My hips did not hurt. My knees did not hurt. I'm getting like cardiovascular because you're having to hold your fucking breath for so long. My bracing's improving. My tendons aren't taking the beating, but I'm still able to train at extremely high RPEs and still able to push like my body's limit. And like there's a Bruce Lee quote of like they asked him in an interview, how many push-ups can you do? And he said 9. Like, what do you mean you only do 9 push-ups? He said, when do you start counting? And it's like he started counting when he could no longer do anymore, right? So that's kind of how I feel like about training. That's another thought process or method you could call it, is basically anytime I go in there, I want to push my body to a point that it hasn't really been or do something I haven't done before. So that's the way for me to do it, because it's like if I'm trying to PR my high bar triple and my hip's a little fucked up, it's probably not going to go my way, but if I can PR my tempo squat, after my legs stronger, everything's going to get stronger. When I can taper my 10-second tempo to a 5-second tempo to a normal squat, and by the time I get back there, it should be shit strong, and so like a lot of people,
Right.
Pisty and powerlifting, it's like reps go down, weight goes up. Like you could just keep the reps the same, but the time under tension goes down. And that's the way of dropping volume. There's a lot of ways to measure volume outside of weights times reps. Your rest period matters, your range of motion matters, and your time under tension are also variables which you can kind of manipulate through your peaking process and use to your advantage.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. I mean, there's so many different variables that you can manipulate outside of just the simple sets, reps, and weight on bar. And I don't see a ton of guys doing that stuff. But I see a guy like you using it, which is, a reason I wanted to pick your brain on some of this. When you get into meet prep itself, do you drop off a lot of the volume of your accessory work? Do you still incorporate, the deep range of motion, knee over toe type stuff? Do you still incorporate a lot of these modalities using the slow eccentrics in prep?
The slow eccentrics, probably not so much. I might cut those out around 6-7 weeks out, and get specific. I'll use them like the 6 to 12 week is kind of like a quote unquote off season. Cause you can, in my head, like I'm only going to get like 3 heavy squats, maybe 2 heavy deadlifts, 2 to 3 heavy deadlifts in a prep, or I'm probably not going to stay in peace for too long if I'm like really pushing it. So I have never hurt my knee or my quad or had any lower body injury anytime I've ever had ATG split squat in my program when I'm doing it. I had it out of my program for a few weeks. I was pursuing the reverse Nordic for a while, and my quad popped. And maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe if I had ATG split squat, it would have never made a difference. But from my personal experience, I have never had any knee issue or quad issue when I'm consistently doing them, because I feel like they keep my knees so fluid. And maybe that's just anecdotal and complete nonsense, but it's something I definitely want to keep them around, even if it's just like 2 sets body weight moving forward. I feel like they're very useful.
I'm on 100% agreement on that.
I'll do sled, but it's like, instead of being at like, I dragged my car for probably 75% of a mile, I don't remember what the square footage was, but we did the math. I dragged it and pushed it forward, and that was at the end of a leg day. If I get close to a meet, I'll still like drag my car, but I might that was like 7 rounds, 7 sets, like back and forth of 80 yards. I might just do like 1 or 2 rounds in prep and be done and move on. Cause like when I get in meet prep, it's actually very sad and depressing from the standpoint that like I'm eating the most I've ever eaten. I'm sitting around and I'm like, should be the strongest I've ever been, but I get to work out the least I like ever.
Yeah.
I like don't get to push myself nearly as much as I want to, because it's like, it's more rest time. It's more like the all season can do like, hey, 10 by 10, 60-second rest on bench to like, or like I did 30 by 30 on push-ups with 30 seconds rest when I was healing my pec. It was like 30 minutes straight of push-ups. It was like psychedelic. Whole body is like sweating. It's like a sauna, the entire experience. It's very different than like if you work up to a heavy single, But I think keeping them around to some degree, I could do an 8x8 on lat pull down at like 3 weeks out, and I don't think that's negatively going to impact my performance. But if it's like 8x8 on hack squat, you're probably being a jackass.
Yeah, and I mean, a guy like you've built up such a big base of work capacity and conditioning, and because you're in such good shape and you're so accustomed to handling crazy high volumes like that, you're a guy who can do like the 8x8 on the lat pull down and have no issue with it. Whereas I think a lot of lifters, they don't incorporate enough of the GPP stuff. They don't incorporate enough of the holistic training, and they're in that terrible shape. They're not durable. They can't recover as well. They cannot handle the exposures to high volume in the way that you can, and then they break, they don't recover. And I think that's been an advantage for you. Now, maybe to your detriment, you're just a psychopath and you love the hell of training. So maybe that's bitten you a few times with injury. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, like, we're doing this because we love this, and this is who we are. And you love the hard training. Like you said, the meet prep's harder for you because it's too much sitting around and resting and recovering. You're not in the fires of hell of the off-season training where you're just pushing yourself. So I resonate with that heavily. Well, Dawson, let me ask you this, man. What's hopefully on the horizon for you? Obviously you're recovering from this quad. But once things are back up and running, are you going to be looking for a meet to jump into? Do you got your eyes in any meets in the next year or so?
I had my eyes on King of the Platform, Jordan Wong's meet, and I was so excited to do it. And I hope I can still do it. I hope I can bounce back. Even if I have to take a token squat at this point.
Yeah.
I just want to get on the platform, dude, because I haven't been on since last year, just due to the injuries and the timing of them. I do want to get, and I was like the strongest I ever was without even being in a meet prep and pushing things. So I was super excited to get out there. So I'm hoping this quad injury, it teaches me a lesson in load management, and I've trained smarter. I'm going to have to train smarter because I'm not really going to have an option. I hope that's going to have a high payoff and be a blessing. And I'm going to hit a huge squat. It might be February or March. It was 7 months, whatever it may be. If I'm good by December, it all really depends on the recovery, and I can't really control it.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Yeah, I mean, you've got the book, The Gift of Injury. I mean, every injury should teach you something and just give you a little bit more wisdom. I know every injury and setback that I've had has pushed me forward as a lifter, as a coach, and I've always taken something from it. And I think that's the mentality that you have. Well, last question for you, and then we'll wrap this up. I know you've got some programs out there that you sell. What are the names of your programs? Give a little plug for your stuff, because I think you've got some great stuff out there, some good resources for people.
My best two programs, if you're going to get two, is Ghost and Off Season. Ghost is like a 12-week program. You can run it into a meet. If you do that, the week, I believe it is week 11 with all the high RPEs on the main lift, just make that your meet week and deload that week and take the lifts at the meet. A lot of people will run this program and have great results, but when it's kind of like how we were talking about the off season and a meet prep together, and how the workloads and the work capacity is two different things. That's why I created that off season program, because you're able to work on your work capacity and work on your weaknesses for an 8-week period. And then you can use Ghost as like an 11, 12-week peak off of that. I've seen people without my guidance of coaching put 70 pounds on their bench press running both of those programs, pairing them together. I have many others. SBD is a classic. I've had people put hundreds on their total, 200, 300 pounds, even for some newer lifters with that. Those are the ones I would recommend. There's Unkillable if you want to explore ATG. If you just go on my website, there's plenty. I got like a description under all of them. If you have any questions about them, you can message me. I respond to every single DM. I'll get back to you in a timely manner.
Yeah, I do lots of nutrition coaching, and it's common. I'll have client inquiries come to me, and one of the questions I ask them is, what does your training look like? And I'll often have people say, I'm running the Dawson Windham Ghost program, or I'm running the Dawson Windham program. And I get that. And I'm always a little bit fired up, because I'm like, all right, this guy's training hard. I know that, at least on paper, he's training hard. So we can work with this from a nutrition standpoint. But anyway.
So warm, dude. When I hear that, or someone like, I've often, since Myrtle Beach is such a tourist area, people will walk in And like, hey, dude, you're Dawson. They're like super excited to meet me. And they're telling me about all the programs they bought. In my head, I'm just calculating how much this person has fucking paid me. I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's not, it won't be that much because the programs aren't that expensive, but it's like $200 over like a span of years. I'm just like, dude, that was a Costco trip. That was my fucking car. I'm so grateful for you. I wouldn't be able to do this without you, you know?
Yeah. Well, Dawson, you're a good man. You're a hell of an athlete, a hell of a lifter. I've thoroughly enjoyed following your career over the years, and I really appreciate you coming on and doing the podcast. I know there's a lot of people in my audience who are going to be fired up to listen to this one.
Thank you so much for having me, John. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, guys. Well, guys, go check out Dawson Windham on Instagram. Check out his programs. Go to his website. Look, just watch some of these crazy lifts this dude has put up. I mean, he trains like an absolute savage, and I love it. And then, guys, for more of me, you can go to my website, hammerchiselperformance.com, for my coaching services. I've got my ebook. It's a manual for setting up your own diet for any goal. Then I've got some of my own training programs as well. And then continue just following along the YouTube channel, guys. Subscribe if you're liking the content. Stay tuned for episodes of the Hammer and Chisel Performance Podcast dropping every Tuesday. So we will catch you guys next time. Thank you for the support. And Dawson, sending you good vibes for a speedy recovery, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.